So we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who caught the tail end of this, this will be the same session we just ran, and it's really focused on what we can do for your first-line workforce. I'll be joined by Bruce from Forbes, who will spend some time walking through some of the high-level trends that they're seeing when they look at this category, and they're doing some great research in partnership with us. And then we'll talk to you a little of the net new services and news that we talked about on Monday, specifically targeting this category of the workforce. So I'll start with digital transformation just because it's a great place and I think we're all familiar with it. But within digital transformation, this first-line workforce is a little bit unique. It's been our experience that successful digital transformations are kind of predicated on inclusivity, on involving all workers and scaling the solutions, the tools, and the capabilities that they need across the entire workforce. When we sat down here a couple of years ago and we said, hey, how do we help our customers transform? What we realized is we were actually overlooking a large population of that workforce. We were doing a great job helping your knowledge workers, the executive team, really do their job better with the right tools and capabilities and services. But what we had done is we'd actually said, hey, there's actually 80% of an employee or a customer's employee base that we're missing. It's these first-line workers. I'll tell you a little story. It actually came to us from a customer, and we had seen this market for a while, but we were working with a customer who basically ended a meeting, he stood up and goes, you're missing out on 80% of my employees. You don't have something for my employees. We said, okay, we can solve that, and we have, and we're continuing to solve that. And we'll walk through a little bit of how we're approaching that and what we see in this category. When we think about these first-line workers, they're pretty unique. They are the first workers who are with your customers. They're the first to engage and work with your products and services. And oftentimes they're really the face of the brand. They're representing you, your corporate brand and identity to your customers in that external world. And yet we've overlooked them. We haven't provided them the right tools and capabilities that they need to be successful. And I think if you think about this, we've all kind of been we've touched a first-line worker every step of our journey to Envision or Ignite, and we will on the way home. It's the person who helped you check into your hotel room. It's the person who helped you make your flight. It's the person who made your coffee that I'm sure we all could probably use some more caffeine at this point. But they really define a successful experience for you or an unsuccessful experience for you. And I'll give you guys all a little bit of homework, which is as you guys fly out of here and travel back home, take a moment and kind of peek your head behind the counter at the Starbucks that you're going to stop at, or at the check-in desk at your airport on your flight back. And what you'll see is the workplace for these workers hasn't transformed. It's paper-based, it's legacy-based. Schedules are still posted in break rooms. The corporate news of the day is still posted on a whiteboard in the back office. That's not an efficient way to drive transformation. It's not equipping these workers for success, and yet they're the most critical part of your workforce. They're the ones who are defining that customer experience. And so we have a vision at Microsoft to really empower these workers, to really maximize the impact that they can have on the organization and really unlock the potential that they have as well. We think about this idea of creativity. We want to find creative opportunities and scale those best practices that exist in your workforce. And before I kind of talk through our vision here, there's a great example that I love to share, which actually came from a large retailer. I think we've all gone through a retail place, a supermarket, a grocery store, and you see end caps, right? So hey, that's a great looking end cap. This retailer came with this idea of copy with pride. They basically wanted to deliver the right tools and services to their workforce, allow them to say, hey, take a photo, what's working, what's not working, and share it with the whole organization. And all of a sudden, they're starting to get this collaboration across all their different stores and environments in a really simple and compelling way. And that really starts with providing them the right tools to do their jobs effectively and enabling them to communicate and connect back to the organization. We know that this workforce is often in a remote or distributed site, and so we know fostering culture and community, building connections to each other and then back to the organization is really critical for driving engagement, and also connects them back to the corporate mission or vision, which is really a great compass for decision making and action on that first line. The second is on training and upskilling these employees. We know that employers want their employees to be more valuable. As we go through this digital transformation, they need new skills, and we want to make sure that they have the skills, resources available to them. But employees want to be more valuable. They recognize the importance of that. And so we want to make sure that we're providing the right skills and capabilities that they can learn and apply new skills to help their organization to improve the customer experience and really gain the skills they need to be successful moving forward. The third is on that digitizing business process. So kind of back to that homework, as you go through that day-to-day and your travel back, notice how much of their workplace is still legacy. It's still defined by ad hoc and manual tasks. We can do better and we should do better, and we've got the technologies for that. Simplifying or modernizing schedule management is a really compelling place to start, and we'll talk about one of those solutions that we have for that workforce. The fourth is on delivering real-time expertise. We know that as these workers become enabled, as they take on more responsibility and are empowered, the decisions they're making are more and more important. They have a greater impact or potential to have an impact on the organization. And so we need to support them with the right information, with the right expertise in real time, so they can make a more informed, actionable, and impactful decision. And then finally, I think we're all aware of security and concerns there as well. And so recognizing that as we welcome these workers into digital transformation, it's really about extending security across all devices, all employees, and all endpoints to really ensure that your organization is not only productive in delivering the right services to these workers, but doing so in a way that keeps you protected. We'll kind of watch a quick video that'll walk through the vision a little bit and really kind of articulate who these people are.
They're the first line, a global workforce 2 billion strong.
People are our main asset. The tools and resources that we give them are absolutely critical to our success.
In this time of digital transformation, their potential could be unlocked in completely new ways.
I think it's a big deal that we can work wherever we are, whether it's one of us in the office or whether it's somebody out on our production line. We can take it to any device that we need to. Microsoft 365 helps us do that.
They could be more connected to the company and one another, given new opportunities to grow their skills and thrive in their work.
Now that we have Microsoft, we have a way to communicate that we didn't before. Our employees that are on the first line, the doctors, the technicians, the hospital managers, they're the lifeblood of our company.
Any technology that's going to make us more available to do our jobs is going to really help our hospitals.
We brought on 20 employees and now we're running inventory management. What's on order? Can we make it? And Microsoft 365 pretty much is the baseline of how we start running everything.
We believe one solution that brings together the best of Microsoft could empower this first-line workforce like never before.
When we first went out to Microsoft and saw where Microsoft 365 was going, you could tell that was going to be the future, and that would give us a leap ahead. The single solution that Microsoft 365 provides us is everything that we need.
All workers are welcome with Microsoft 365.
Sorry. And what's exciting about that is on Monday we introduced net new product value designed specifically for this first line worker. We introduced Microsoft 365 F1 that brings together Office 365, brings together Windows 10 and EMS, and really delivers a complete, intelligent, and secure solution for this category. Within that, there's actually some net new product value designed specifically for these workers. The first are purpose-built tools for first-line productivity with something like Microsoft Staff Hub. The second is understanding the importance of building a sense of community and culture and connection with services like Teams or Yammer. Third is around understanding and delivering training material, onboarding content in real time with tools like SharePoint or Stream. We know that video content is a super compelling way and an important way to communicate a message across the organization, and we know that that's a great value prop for our customers. And the last two, one's about security. Like I said, as we welcome these workers into the workforce, as we provide the digital tools that they need, we need to extend security across all devices and all employees, and EMS gives us the capabilities to do that. And then finally, we have some net new product value in Windows 10. Which is really designed to support and enable some of these first-line scenarios or experiences. One would be a great example of a shared device experience, and so think of your modern-day kiosk, or the ability to remotely manage and support first-line worker devices from a central location. And so we're really taking a lot of great value, we're bringing it together in Microsoft 365 and providing a complete solution for these workers. Right before we hand it over to Bruce to talk through some trends, I just want to talk a little bit about Microsoft Staff Hub. Microsoft Staff Hub is a purpose-built app within Microsoft 365 and Office 365 designed for these first-line workers. I love the history of this product because it's the first time we took a great engineering team and we told them to stop writing code, which is a great thing to do to your engineers if you really want to see them kind of struggle. And we took their laptops away and we sent them out into the field, and for 3 months we said, don't write code, come back to us with a problem. They went and sat with great customers all over the world, and they came back and we said, hey, we've identified not only a problem, but we've identified an entire category of the market that we've overlooked, and that was these first-line workers. And so they started building Microsoft Staff Hub. It's got a great center of gravity around schedules and tasks, and it's rapidly evolved beyond that. It includes the ability to distribute training and onboarding materials. It allows you to connect your workforce both with kind of a traditional chat and IM conversation, but also scale across the organization. So earlier this week, we announced the interop between Staff Hub and Microsoft Teams. You can imagine a great productivity scenario where someone in your corporate office could go have a communication with all the store managers of your retail spaces, all in a secure way and all in real time. And then lastly, we know that as you deliver these tools to your workforce, you need to do so in a very friction-free and streamlined experience. And so a great capability of Staff Hub is actually to add a user into your Azure Active Identity or directory with just a phone number. And so it really takes a lot of the process and leans it out and allows you to scale much more efficiently. There's a great booth on Microsoft Staff Hub on the expo floor, so if you want to learn more, either find me after or come find us at the booth. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce. He's the Chief Insights Officer at Forbes, and we'll walk through a couple of the high-level trends that we're seeing within the first-line worker category.
Thank you, Andrew. So I'm the Chief Insights Officer at Forbes, which is one of those titles, one of those titles you get when you've been someplace for a long time and have gray hair like I do, but it does describe what I do as the Chief Executive of a research business that I founded as part of Forbes. And we are engaged by companies like Microsoft and Andrew as part of this initiative to help understand where companies are in this process of thinking about first-line workers. And typically we do research around the C-suite, senior executives, and identify pain points in the decision-making process and hopefully come up with some potential solutions on what those gaps in insight are. And so from the research that we do, not just the research we did for first-line workers, but for CEOs in general, we know that digital transformation is the #1 agenda for every CEO anywhere in the world. How many of you are undergoing a digital transformation initiative formal at your own companies? Many. It's pretty common. And the other research that we have found was that 84% of digital transformation initiatives fail. It's extraordinary. So I think there are a lot of reasons. Part of the reason we think is that it's seen as a process that begins and ends when it's a never-ending process. And I think as we engaged with Microsoft, this whole notion of first-line workers, I really see it as a missing hole in the digital transformation process. Because while we're spending all this time connecting knowledge workers in the organization for better technology, for better distribution of information, those on the front line are I think, overlooked and could be the real missing link in how to succeed at digital transformation going forward. And by the way, how many of you have even heard of a concept of first-line workers as a technology segment prior to this moment here today? Okay. Very few. I think you're going to hear about it in a big way, and I think you'll look back at this moment 5 years from now and say, hey, I was at that conference, Microsoft conference, when they talked about first-line workers, and now it's dominating everything we do going forward because, as you can see, first line workers are the majority of all today's workforce. And CEOs want their companies to be customer centric because that's how they're going to compete in the future. Yet how do you be customer centric when the person who day to day has connections to the most important person to you, your customer, often doesn't have the information or the technology or really the data to help resolve or solve or engage with that customer in a way that's really elevates their satisfaction with that process. So we just came out of the field with research. I'm going to share some top line to help put some perspectives on this. We surveyed 300 C-suite in the U.S., asked them about a whole range of things about how they're thinking about, we had to explain what first-line workers are because it's a concept that's relatively new. 100% of them were involved in implementing business technology for first-line workers, which was the baseline for the research. 80% of them told us that they are personally taking a lead role in that process. So as we can see here, majority of employees are first line, but of this cohort, this C-suite respondents in our survey, only half, 51%, say they have fully connected and empowered more than half of their workers to do their job properly. So that's half of half. So any of you following along with the math, that's 25%. So there's still a majority of first-line workers who don't have access at all to this technology, and we see that as a big challenge. And here you can see here that while 9 out of 10, virtually everybody say it's a good thing that we provide this technology to our first-line workers, less than 4 out of 10 say they are making the progress that they really need to in that area. Another 73% of this group say that providing the technology that we're talking about here with first-line workers will be a key point of competitive differentiation in the future. And as we just were chatting about, the idea that you can empower the first person to have a connection to a customer, to have the information to resolve a situation in that moment and not have to wait for a supervisor or for someone from headquarters to make a decision, the better. Because if you're not doing it, there are upstart companies who are competing against you at that very moment and who are exploiting the weakness in your company as a result. 7 out of 10 of them say that new automation and new technology will actually help elevate and augment the performance of first-line workers. And so in this case, technology, and we hear a lot about artificial intelligence is going to disintermediate the workforce. And I think in many ways, particularly first-line workers, it's going to be just the reverse. Those who have skills around empathy and can really connect and engage with customers better than other companies who do so, I think will truly be the ones that win in the future. Empathy will be in high demand, and the way you give your first-line workers empathy is to provide them with the data and information that allows them to understand more fully who they're talking to and can help resolve that situation in real time. Only 1 in 5 said that the technologies will probably lead to headcount reductions, which I'm sure it will to some degree. But they have concerns, and you know, there's a will, but there's the roadmap to get there is not yet clearly understood. And I think I commend folks like you who are here to help educate your organizations on how to do that when you go back to your companies. They have concerns over skills gaps, particularly they mentioned quality, number 1, followed by collaboration, communication, and adaptability. And can technology enable their first-line worker to be agile and adapt to the situation? Because what we do every day on our jobs is going to change depending on how we interact with customers, and do they have the information to do that, and the skills and the training to do so. Only 30% of this respondent group said that they have a clear strategy focused on first-line workers. So I think this is something new in an area that demands attention going forward. 81% of them said that they want their first-line workers to have more autonomy to make those decisions in the moment to resolve those customer engagements in a satisfactory way. Yet only 1 out of 5 have such autonomy today. So a lot of work yet to be done. And only 29% say that they are effective at sharing, transmitting, and acting on the information from first-line workers. That is, the information that you get in real time from engaging with customers from that first-line work back to supervisors or back to headquarters to make effective use of that data. And the other thing that came out of this is that while upstart companies may be disintermediating your own companies on this very notion of employing first-line workers to do their job better, time is not your friend. 70% of the respondent base say that they're working on a 3+ year timeline to implement this technology for their first-line workers. Imagine the changes that have happened in your own businesses in 3 years. 35% said 5+ year timeline to introduce the technology to first-line workers. 5 years, a business may be completely unrecognizable from what it is today in 5 years if past is prologue. And of course there are barriers. 39% said that budgets are always an issue when their investment is required, but I think that's highly correlated to education about the importance of this category overall. Talent will certainly be an issue, and turnover is top of mind, particularly on this first-line worker. And I think providing that technology that not only allows them to do their job better, but I think will increase their satisfaction in their job and will help reduce turnover. Only 32% say that more than half of their first-line workers have access to key business applications or access to the cloud. So I think that's a huge challenge going forward. Or I guess if you look at it with the silver lining, is the good news there's lots of room for improvement. And in fact, they told us that they expect those numbers to double in the next 3 years. So hopefully you'll find this one of those key moments in your own decision-making process in your careers to put more of a focus on the technology and tools to enable your first-line workers to do their jobs better. And with that, I'll turn it back to Andrew.
Okay, thank you. And so it's not just us looking at this. There's great partners who we're working with on kind of the leading edge of investing in building services tailor-made for these first-line workers, really focused in on some of the same pain points that we've identified on schedule and task management. As we know, this category is defined by time and tasks. Scaling support as they scale solutions across the organization. As adopting new technologies is hard, and we know that you need to do so in a very simplistic and great experience for these workers. And we've also got great customers who are really leading on this kind of enablement and empowerment of their first-line workers. I'm going to end on a bit of a customer story here, and I don't want to get lost in the puppies and kittens that you'll see here in a second. They've really taken the time to roll out great technologies to their first-line workers, to connect them to each other and really focus on delivering a better experience for their customers and their clients.
I never really know what my day is going to look like, but I get puppies and kittens, so that's fun.
I'm a dog person. Cats are great. They're just a little more independent.
VCA is a very unique animal in itself, no pun intended. That sounds like my dog. We have about 815 animal hospitals across the country. We have 5,000 plus doctors, specialists, laboratories, doggy daycare centers. Our goal is to try to support our own employees, giving them the right tools to run a successful hospital.
Hey, kiddo. I view these guys as my second family. I'm here in the hospital probably more hours than I am at home.
Our employees that are on the first line, the doctors, the technicians, the hospital managers, they're the lifeblood of our company. Office 365 finally gave us that ability to communicate the way we didn't before.
Okay, come right this way and we'll get you weighed in. All right, we got it.
In order for a patient to really get the best care, oftentimes it involves several of us across different specialties. So anything that gives me access to those clinicians, then I can focus on taking care of that patient.
We have a solution like Office 365. We have the ability to have a network of 5,000 plus doctors come together to work on that same pet. That creativity allows us to push the boundaries of what we thought we could do. And we were able to develop the internet collaboration network that we wanted.
From connecting one hospital to another, to staffing the hospitals with Staff Hub, keeping inventory, any technology that's going to make us more available to do our jobs is going to really help our hospitals.
There's one thing that always connects us together, which is the care for the pet. And Office 365 finally gives us the ability to communicate that with each other. Technicians and the doctors, they sleep in the cages. Hospital managers stay after to make sure everything's okay.
To schedule someone coming at 12, someone coming at 2 a.m., 4 a.m. That's why we work in the veterinary field, is, seeing those little fighters make it.
So with that, I know we're about out of time. We'll be here afterwards for questions. We've also got 2 booths on the show floor, one focused on first-line workers and one also focused on Staff Hub. Happy to take questions, and thank you guys for your time and enjoy the rest of the week.